Let's roll. Welcome everyone to our Level Up at Lunch. Let's go to Katerina, and she is going to introduce our speaker.
Bing, bing, bing. Yay, my friends. Here at Professional Women's Network, we strive to always bring you outstanding presenters with the intention of having you leave this meeting way more uplifted and more energized and than when you showed up, with some great super tips. And today is no exception. Today we have the phenomenal Michelle Teague, and is the founder of A Teague of Your Own. And she is a trainer, speaker, business mentor, and consultant. She lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She works with business owners and HR professionals to reduce conflict, eliminate employee turnover, and increase productivity. And she is always also one of the most positive gals you will ever meet, and enhances every life she touches. Michelle, bing, 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 the floor is yours. And Tracy, would you put your fancy timer up for Michelle, and let's give her 35 minutes. Okay. Michelle,
Awesome.
does that help you if we do that?
That does help me. Thank you so
great.
much.
Bing, bing, bing. Yay.
Bing, bing, bing. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, ladies, for inviting me in this afternoon. This is fabulous. I've gotten to know several of you, and there are lots of books in you that I want to read. Let me share that. I think it would be wonderful if we all got out there and actually wrote those books. I'm going to be talking about influence today. And my first question is actually a question for all of you. Now, you'll notice I dropped a document there into the chat box. It's just note page. So if you just wanted to take some notes as we're talking, that's fine. But my first question for all of you is, how do you define influence? What does influence mean to you? So go ahead and unmute yourself, or if you want to type it up in the chat box, you are more than welcome to. I want to hear how you would define influence.
Yeah, influence is, for me, leading people on a path of agreement. You're walking down the path and you are leading people to a place where you believe it's for their benefit. You can influence can have a double-edged sword because it's unconditional.
Yes.
So we can use it to really manipulate people as well, who are not being very savvy. So influence is one of those things that has a dark and a light side.
Yes, it does. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Jody. Who else? Okay, I saw a couple hands going up. First, we're going to do Tracy, then Katerina, then Joanne. Tracy.
Yeah, Jody actually touched on, we often think of positive influence, but as the mom of teenagers, I think of both positive and negative influences. And so I would say that influence means that people are paying attention and potentially coming along for whatever ride you are leading them to join you on. And that may be fast or slow, it may be good or bad. So, a lot or a little influence, it can vary, but definitely people are paying attention. And I think that's the main first point.
I like that, Tracy. We're going to talk a little bit about social media influencers here in just a second. Katerina, I know you had your hand up, and then Joanne.
When we have influence, that means others are valuing us, valuing our opinions, valuing the contribution that we can make to them.
Excellent. Since you are the creator of the influence equation, my friend, and we're going to talk about that too, and value, as you know, is part of that. Thank you. Joanne.
Well, I'm always going for the light, and what influence is to me is inspiring people with a blueprint that they can go to make their lives better.
Excellent. I like that, Joanne. I see in the chat, Julianne wrote, helping people make the right decisions in their lives. That's good. Sharda has the ability to change others' thoughts or actions. Very good. Carrie has making a difference, connecting people with motivations. Ooh. So here's my definition for you, ladies. And this is what we're going to focus on for the rest of my presentation. Is influence is the ability to positively or negatively change or impact the feelings, actions, and behaviors of others. Let me repeat that one more time, just in case you're writing it down. Influence is the ability to positively or negatively change or impact the feelings, actions, and behaviors of others. This ties in a lot of what all of you ladies were talking about. It ties in the idea of the positive and negative. It ties in the idea of getting people to do things. And I want to talk a little bit while we're thinking about it right now about that positive and negative part. How many of you, when you were growing up, mom and or dad would say to you, no, I don't want you hanging out with that person over there because they're a bad influence on you? How many of you, mom and dad, said that? Or okay. How many of you were the bad influence? Okay, yeah. Okay. As a child, we are introduced to this concept of influence. I mean, think about it. All the small people in our lives, they're already introduced to this concept. So we know about influence from a very young age. Now, we know that there are people out there who are trying to negatively influence us. We're not necessarily aware of the people who are positively influencing us, though. And as adults, we become very aware of who those people are, and we start to seek them out. One of the things I wanted to talk about was social media, and how, if you think about within probably the past 5 or so years, you've seen this increase in social media influencers, where literally the only thing that these people are doing are going out on social media, gathering up as many followers as possible, and putting out message after message, content piece after content piece, picture after picture. And all they're known for is being a social media influencer. I'm not going to say what that says about our society today. However, I think there are better people out there for us to focus on when it comes to influence. And some of the people that come to my mind when it comes to especially leadership and influence, one of my friends and mentors is John Maxwell. He's written tons of books on leadership, but he will tell you leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. You've got people like Ken Blanchard, who will tell you the key to successful leadership today is influence, not authority. You've got Tony Robbins. Love him or hate him, he'll tell you influence is the single most important skill you can master in your lifetime. So there's a lot of reasons why we as business women need to tap into specifically that positive influence that we have on other people. So why do you think influence would be important as business women? All of you are professional business women. Why would you want to influence somebody with your business? Go ahead and either type it in the chat or unmute yourself and let me know. That's it right there, Elizabeth. Yeah, Elizabeth typed in influence equals sales. Yes. The more customers you can positively influence, do we think that's going to end up increasing our sales of our products and services? Does it necessarily matter what we're selling? No? Okay. Because the reality is people will buy things when they know, like, and trust you. And how do we increase that know, like, and trust factor? Influence, right? Okay. So if influence is so important to us as business women, we need to focus a little bit more on how we can increase it, especially the positive influence. Uh, when we were talking about positive and negative influence, one of the things that good leaders will make sure that they have the people that they're leading, that they are looking out for their best interests. And it's the same as business women. We are looking out for our customers' best interests. You don't want to sell products and services to somebody if they're not going to benefit from that. Why is that? What's going to happen if you sell something to somebody and they either can't use it, or they're never going to use this, or it's just not the right product or service to them? What's going to happen? Go ahead, Lana.
You lose your integrity.
You do.
And people aren't going to trust you or believe you. But I mean, in an imperfect world that we live, I would hope that all of us would be doing our very best to listen to what the person needs and help them get what they need, and then slowly move them into the direction of, I know really good things for you that can help.
Yes. That is exactly it. If we don't have people's best interest at heart, they're not going to trust us anymore. And like I said, if we want to increase our sales, people need to know, like, and trust us. Well, if they don't trust us, they're not going to want to do business with us. So making sure that people will trust us, we need to make sure we have their best interests at heart. And that means that we need to gain positive influence with them. So influence is going to be important as business women, because it's going to help us achieve our goals. When we have influence, we're more likely to be able to get people to buy our products and services. We can increase the chances of people investing in our own businesses and in us. We can increase people to the people around us and get more people to actually work with us. Some of you have teams of people that you're leading. Would you ever want to go work for somebody who was a bad influence or who wasn't a good person? No, you don't want to work for or work with those type of people. So having positive influence and gaining positive influence is good for building up the team of people around you. It also helps us to get people, when we have more influence over people, we can draw attention to and support different causes. One of the things that a lot of businesses will do is they will find a cause that they believe in, and then use their influence to help bring awareness to it, to their customers and to their communities. I know several of you on here do that with your businesses. You have several causes that are near and dear to your heart that you will raise money for and you will raise awareness of through your businesses. And that's the good thing about influence, is you have the ability to do that for different causes. So do you think that increasing your influence will give you a competitive edge as a businesswoman? All right, I see some heads nodding up and down. Why do you think that is?
We live in a world where people need to see the leaders. We never used, I mean, I don't know about you, but I never knew who was the head of Coke or Mobil or Exxon or Safeway. And now we know who owns all these companies, and they have to get in front of cameras. So they're being forced to be influencers.
That's a great point. What else? Marlene, did you want to add something?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we use influence every day in business. And we use influence by first establishing trust with our clients, and influence is a very positive thing within our business. It's probably one of the most prevailing positive source that we use on a daily basis. We have meetings about it, and on a weekly basis. And so we start that by building trust with our clients and building trust in the community, and then delivering what we promise. But we start that by listening to the customer, like I heard so many people say earlier, and listening to what their wants are, what their needs are, and then guiding them in the direction, in the professional, best known direction that we feel is going to be cost effective, make the whole process smooth, as painless as possible, because moving isn't fun and it is expensive. So when we use our best practices, when we use our professionalism, and when we deliver what we promise we will, we influence that customer to spread that good experience to all of their family, their friends, their coworkers, and then they start being influencers for us. And so it goes viral, right?
Yes.
And so we use it on a day-to-day, and that's on the sales side. But me, as a leader of our business, I use influence to get what I need from my staff by leading by example, and treating them like human beings, and treating them with respect, and coaching in a private setting, having one-on-ones, and not putting anybody out. So we leverage influence in many different ways and in every facet of our business.
Excellent points, Marlene. Yes. One of the points that you brought up is you can use influence to help you attract customers. You are correct. That's one of the things, is when the word gets out there that you're a good person, that you have integrity, which is one of the things that you were talking about there, Marlene, doing what you say you're going to do. As that word spreads, it makes it a whole lot easier for you to attract the people that it is that you're looking for. It also helps you to build relationships with key decision makers. Many of you are looking for the right person to get in front of to make a decision. Some of you work with companies that have multiple people involved in it, and the first person you talk to isn't necessarily the decision maker. As your influence grows, it makes it easier for you to build relationships with those key decision makers. And when you build those relationships, it's going to make it easier for them to say yes to your ask. And that's one of the things that we're looking for with positive influence, is building up those relationships. It can also help you raise your profile and attract new opportunities while you're out there in the community. One of the things that Teresa brought up is about the concept of networking. The concept of networking isn't just get here on the screen or go to an in-person meeting and share your 30-second or 60-second commercial, get a couple of business cards and leave. No. The concept of networking is to build those relationships, because people are going to do business with people who they build that relationship with, who they know, like, and trust. And by using influence to help you gain that competitive edge, that's exactly what's going to happen. As you network more, as you get out there and you are the leading person in the community that people start to turn to, that's one of the ways that you're going to be able to increase your influence. And that's how it helps give you that competitive edge. Now, I had said earlier that Katerina Rando created this influence equation. It's one of my favorite equations. If you're a math nerd out there, and some of you are, if you're a math nerd, equations are cool. If you're like not into math, this has no numbers. That's the good news. All right. So Katerina's influence equation is visibility plus value plus consistency equals influence. Okay. And I know you ladies have heard this in the past. Visibility plus value plus consistency equals influence. So I want you to ask yourself, what are some ways you can increase your visibility for your business? What is it that you can do to increase your visibility in your business? How can you add more value to your customers? What can you do to add value to them? The current ones and the prospective ones. And what can you consistently do in your business? And I want you to publicly state what you will consistently do in your business to help create that influence. And the reason why I say that, we're going to talk a little bit about Dr. Robert Cialdini here in a few minutes, but one of the things that he found through his many studies is the more often you publicly state something, you are now going to be held accountable, and accountability was one of the things that showed up in the chat box there just a little while ago. You're going to be held publicly accountable for doing that. And so if you truly want to be consistent and you truly want to do something, the easiest way to make sure that you do is to tell others about it. And this is the group of women you need to tell what you're going to do consistently in your business to increase your influence. And the reason why I say that is because I know you will positively support one another. And every now and then somebody's going to say, hey, did you do the thing you said you were going to do? And that little push will help you tremendously. So think about it. And I want you to publicly express what it is that you are going to do. All right. So we talked a little bit about what influence is. We talked a little bit about why you would want influence, how this is going to give you a competitive edge in your business. Let's talk about 10 ways that you can increase your influence. Okay, so the first one is to become a thought leader. Share your knowledge, share your expertise with others by speaking at events like this. And I know Katarina's going to tell me that that's a good thing to bring up. Also, writing articles, or as we talked about in the icebreaker, publish books. Okay, become that thought leader. This is going to help establish yourself as an expert, and it's also going to increase your credibility with people, not just in your current circle of influence, but outside of your circle of influence. Second is get involved in your community. Volunteer your time. Volunteer your expertise for local organizations, especially nonprofits, because they can always use the help, ladies. This is a great way to build relationships with key decision makers and get your name out there. Third, give back to others. Donate to the charity of your choice. Volunteer your time. Volunteer your talent, volunteer your treasure, or simply be kind and helpful to others. You were talking about November coming up and getting the gratitude meeting together. One of the things that you can do is simply be kind to one another. People are going to notice that. When you give back, you make the world a better place. And people want to be around others who are making the world a better place. Number 4 is be consistent with your messaging. And when I'm saying be consistent with your messaging, I mean across all of your different platforms, across your entire brand. It doesn't matter who it is that you're talking to, where it is that they're getting the information. It needs to be clear. It needs to be concise. And it needs to be consistent across all your channels. This is going to help to build that trust and your credibility with your audience. Number 5 is be authentic. People know when you're being fake or when you're putting on airs. They can tell a mile away when you are not an authentic person. Okay, it's much easier to be you. You do you. All right. It's so much easier to be you than it is to try and be somebody else. And you don't want to do business with somebody who's fake. Nobody does. Okay, so be authentic. Number 6 is be patient. It takes time to build influence. This is not something that happens overnight. Okay, it's gonna the people on social media who are getting all those followers, it's not happening overnight. It's taking them time. Now they've got tons of them, but it has taken them time. And it's the same with you and your business. It takes time to find the right people and to grow your influence. Number 7 is be persistent. Do not give up when things get tough. I will tell you, that's one of the things that people will do is they reach that brick wall, they reach their first obstacle, and they're like, forget this. I'm just throwing in the towel. No, you have to keep working hard. You have to work hard for yourself. You have to work hard for your business. And that's the only way you're going to be able to reach your goals, is to continue being persistent and working hard. Number 8 is be positive. People are drawn to positive people. Do you really want to hang around with negative Nancy or Debbie Downer? No. We don't want them as customers either, do we? No. Unless we're going to change them into a more positive person. All right. We want to be positive. We want to be uplifting. Okay? People are drawn to that. In this day and age, when you turn on the news and you hear all the negativity, be that positivity in somebody's life. That will draw them to you. Number 9 is be helpful. People are more likely to be drawn to you if you are helpful and supportive. Okay, when you help others, it makes them feel good. And the reality is, you feel good when you help others. Okay? All of us get that warm puppy dog feeling inside our hearts when we do something nice and do something to help others. And you want to continue that. Number 10 is be humble. Don't let success go to your head. And remember where you came from. Remember how you had to climb up the ladder. Remember how other people had to help you get to where you are. And then you need to turn around and help others get to where you are. Okay, it's a two-way street. So be humble and help others. All right. I briefly mentioned Dr. Cialdini earlier. Have any of you ever seen this? Where is it? This book here. Okay. It's Influence. There we go. The book is called Influence. It's by Dr. Robert Cialdini. He first wrote the very first version of this book he wrote back in 1984. Dr. Robert Cialdini, super major researcher, and I'm going to type his last name in the chat box because it's not how you think. Okay, Dr. Robert Cialdini, he wrote Influence back in 1984. And he wrote it because he's the super duper research Rambo guy, teaches at college, does research on consumer behavior and marketing. He wanted to know, why do people buy the stuff they buy? Why do consumers make the decisions that they make? And so he did a bunch of research to figure that out. And as he's publishing, research article after research article, it occurs to him, there are businesses out there who could benefit from this. And so he wrote his book. And it sat there and sat there and sat there. Now, if you take a look, come on, where are you? There you are. If you can take a look at the very top of this book, it tells you over 5 million, over 5 million copies sold. And you're saying, but Michelle, the book just sat there. It did. When I tell you, you got to be persistent and stuff doesn't happen overnight, he did not sell those 5 million copies overnight. Okay, back in 1984, when he first wrote that, the only people who really knew who he was were other college professors and other researchers. Molly, no. Here's the thing. They knew he knew what he was talking about because everything in his book was supported by research. And so they started using it as a textbook in their college courses for marketing and consumer behavior. And the next thing you know, MBA students are reading this book and they're taking it to heart, and they're saying, hey, I could actually use this in my workplace. And so what did they do? They start using it in the workplace, and I've got a barking dog now. And they, hold on a second. Mommy has no influence over the puppy. And what they start doing is using it in their workplace. And that's when it started to grow. And this phenomenon started to grow. And it grew and grew and grew until you had people like Warren Buffett who were reading it and singing the praises of this book. Now, Dr. Cialdini rewrote the book. He didn't rewrote it. He updated it and he added a bunch of stuff to it back in 2021. There are 7 principles of influence that he writes about in this book. They are reciprocity, which means I do something for you, you do something for me. Okay. There's commitment or consistency, meaning you make a commitment, you're consistent about doing it over and over and over again. There's consensus or social proof, meaning I can see where this is happening. I can see other people doing what you say that they're going to do. There's authority, where, you know, people are in charge, or you're an expert, you're an authority in an area. There's liking, where people truly like who you are, that they're drawn to your personality, they're drawn to who you are, they just like being around you. There's scarcity, meaning there's not much out there. Okay. And then there's also unity, which is his newest principle of influence. And unity is more about having commonality with the person or the product or the services that you are indeed selling. I'm going to share with you a couple of what Dr. Cialdini calls our small bigs. Now, Teresa and Patty, when they interviewed me on the podcast, I shared 3 small bigs with them on that podcast, and I'm going to share something different on this luncheon with you. Are you cool with that, ladies? You okay with that? These small bigs, the idea behind them is these are small changes that have a big effect on influence. And these are things that you can actually put into place and you can do right away. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is a way that you can get more people to say yes to your offer. How many of you would like more yeses? Okay. I do. I want more yeses. Okay, whether it's an Insta client or even if it's a super slow cooker, I still want a yes. Okay. All right. There are people out there who don't want to be sold to. How many of you actually want somebody to sell to you? Yeah. Most people don't. Okay. They feel like they're being forced into a situation. So instead of your customer or potential customer feel like they're being forced into a situation, you can use the following sentence, which will start to put them at ease. And that sentence is, of course, the choice is completely up to you. Did you hear that, ladies? Of course, the choice is completely up to you. What did we just do? We just threw it in, we threw the ball and we handed it to them and we said, I'm not forcing you to do this. This choice is yours. I've laid out the reasoning behind all of this, and now it's up to you. Okay. Dr. Cialdini has 42 different studies showing that adding this phrase significantly increases compliance with the request. Okay. So, of course, the choice is completely up to you. Okay. That's one of the small bigs I want to share with you. The other one that I want to share with you is the idea of reciprocity. Okay. And with reciprocity, once again, it's I do something for you, you do something for me. All right. You have this sense of obligation to somebody. Oftentimes, a customer will go to you and say, oh, I really need this product, or I really need this service, and I need it like last week. Okay, can you get this for me? Can Teresa, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking you've got people who need the stuff yesterday. And some of them you're willing to move heaven and earth to get it for. Okay? And all of you have customers like that, where you will go out of your way to do something, and they recognize that. And they will gush all over you, and they will tell you you are just the best person in the world, and they are going to thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bing, 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 bing. Here's what not to say after that. Don't look at them and say, you know, you owe me one now. No. That's not the way this works. I also don't want you to say, oh, it was no big deal. It was no problem. What did you just do? You just literally made them feel small. You took away that special feeling that you created just for them, because the reality is you did something special for them. Here's what I want you to say instead. Of course, I was glad to do this. Because if the situation were reversed, you would do the same for me, right? Did you hear that, ladies? Of course, I was glad to do it. Because if the situation were reversed, you would do the same for me, right? And what are they going to say? They're going to nod and they're going to say yes. And now they've made a public commitment to being obliged to help you when you're in a pinch. All right, ladies. On the handout that I shared with you, the back of it at the very bottom, there's a QR code on there where I'm inviting you to my free webinar next month. It is on Wednesday, October 4th. It's at 2:00 Eastern time, which is 11:00 Pacific time. We're going to be talking a little bit more about influence there, and I would love to see your smiling faces on my screen. Please go there, and I will indeed also put the registration link here in the chat box for you. But thank you so much for inviting me out here again, and thank you for joining me on this journey of influence.
Thank you, Michelle. Everybody, let's give a big round of applause to Michelle. Michelle, you brought massive value. Thank you for these great tips. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for your massive value. Everybody, connect with Michelle. As I said, what she's going to do is uplift your life every time you interact with her. And Michelle, thank you for bringing your massive value again.
It was fantastic seeing you all, and we'll see you at the next one.
Right. Thanks, everyone. Great
Thanks,
meeting.
everyone. Great meeting.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, ladies. It's wonderful seeing you and meeting you.
Thank you, Michelle.